good news. We actually found a place. Well, we didn't find a place. We were finally accepted for a new rental. It has been quite the journey. I know that timeline wise, it hasn't been overly too long. Like, we got notice that we'd have to move in the beginning of May, the end of April, the beginning of May, in there somewhere. And then it took to the end of June. So like a month, like 4 to 5 weeks, I guess, all together. But boy, was it ever a very stressful, challenging 4 to 5 weeks. I feel like it aged me years between all of the open houses and the viewings and the constant connections with our landlord, who was like, went from telling us, no, we're not going to sell the house, give me another year's worth of post-dated checks, to 2 weeks later being, we need to sell, and we're going to sell like aggressively. Like, it's going to consume every minute of their life, which meant it consumed every minute of our lives. We would get text messages being like, hey, I know we haven't given you 24 hours notice, but can we come tonight? And then us being like, no, our children are in bed. And they're like, it's okay, your children can stay in bed while we view the home. And I'm like, yeah, no. And then we had other ones that were planned like every single weekend. It was a lot. It was a lot. Then searching, like I probably looked at least hundreds and hundreds of postings from different websites, from like Marketplace to property rental, like rental places from property managers, to tons of different websites. Like, if it existed, I viewed it, and so did my husband. So hundreds of places. We applied to, I don't know, maybe 75, 80. Because again, some places weren't in the district of our city that we wanted. And we thought, until we get desperate, we're going to try to stay in our district so that we can minimize the amount of disruption to our children. So not every place was suitable for us, but we did apply to quite a few. And I wouldn't say 100, but close to 100. And of those, only 6 got back to us. 6. So I don't know if these sites just aren't making sure that people take down their ads once they fill them, or what the criteria was to choose with who they responded to or not. But only 6. So you can imagine, once we were given our official 2 months notice, because at first we weren't given it, because in British Columbia they cannot evict you because they're going to sell a house. They let you know they're selling, and then if you get an investor who purchases the home, you stay at your current rate and the current system. But if it's a homeowner that's going to move into the home, then once the home is sold or there's a contract with good faith to sell, you get 2 months notice if they want to move in. So once we were given that 2 months notice, we were like, okay, we really need to find a place, because we know now for sure it's not an investor. So when you don't hear back from people, it's a lot. It's a lot. Okay, so then out of those 6 that actually got back to us and we viewed their properties, we applied to 5. We didn't apply to one of them because the rooms were microscopic. It was a newer townhome, and beautiful inside. But 2 things arose. Number 1, it was so tight in between the townhouses that it was like a one-way lane separating them, but then their driveways were non-existent. They were like a sidewalk. So that's not very much room to get your car even to angle in and out of the garage. So we're like, well, it must be possible because people do it. But that was hard. Then inside the bedrooms were so tiny. And so it wasn't going to work because we just have too many people we need a room where our boys can all be in their beds individually. Like right now it's a triple bunk, but 2 of our boys are like the size of men. So we need them in individual beds. So if they get the master, they can fit those beds in majority of places, but not this one. Beautiful though, like floor to ceiling windows, lovely. But if you can't sleep in the place properly, then why would you ever do it? So we did not apply to that place, but we applied to the 5 others. So out of those 5, only 2 got back to us after we applied. Like, at least just say that you're going in another direction. Don't just leave the people hanging. It's so unprofessional and so rude. And so then I guess, one of the places said, thank you, but I've already, signed a lease with someone else. And then the other place was the place that accepted us. Thank you, Jesus. So there was a study that was done and some statistics that came out talking about the rental market in Canada and in like as a whole. And British Columbia, my province, had the highest amount of evictions and the highest increases of rent prices this year. And they said out of the 100% of the renters that were evicted, only I believe it was 17%. It was well under, it was under 20. So I think it was 17% were evictions where the tenant was breaking rules, wasn't a good tenant, that kind of situation. The remainder, like 83%, were good tenants who paid their bills on time. They were, they didn't damage the home. There was no need to evict them. It was because of the landlord. So rather the landlords were naughty themselves and reno evicted them, which if you're not familiar with that term, then you're not from around here. Rent evictions are when a landlord evicts you in good faith that they are going to move in themselves or close family relation, or they're selling, or they have sold, I guess. And then what they do instead is they do some renovations and they jack up the prices. And then sometimes they don't even do the renovation. They just jack up the prices because they can, because the rental market here is so expensive. So if their rent was lower and they're like, oh my goodness, I can get $1,000 more a month, they'll rent evict you and they'll charge higher next time. So that's it's illegal. And if you get caught, there's a big fine. I believe it's 1 year. I believe it's the same as my situation where if you sell and you say you're going to move in, like the new owners, and they don't, and like you catch them and you can prove it, they owe you 1 year's rent. So I'm pretty sure that's the same with a rent eviction because it's illegal. So rather they're doing the illegal version, or they themselves can no longer afford their investment property because there are rental restrictions, like with rent increases, you can only do it to a certain degree. So for some people, if they've had a variable mortgage or if they've needed to renew their mortgage during this very high interest rate period and the property taxes have gone up, some of them can no longer afford the income property because it's costing them too much money. So, there are some legitimate and non-legitimate reasons why 83% of us renters have been evicted. Now, the frustrating part of this, not only is the fact that so many of us are having to move, is that landlords now treat tenants like they are so suspicious and like scum. And it's a very demoralizing process. Before, you would have to do a credit check and you would have to do, get references. Now they want those plus letters of employment, which state your salary or your hourly wage, the hours that you work. They want to see your pay stubs. They want, some of them, your bank statements, because they want to see that you can pay the rent. But it's like, if you don't know how to manage your money, or if you're having financial issues yourself, that's going to reflect on your credit score. And the reference from your previous landlord, like that should all be enough. Why are you treating us like we're suspicious when it's actually the landlords that are the ones that don't have the money to keep the properties? So that's been hard. That's very demoralizing to just be treated so poorly when majority of the renters that are looking for places have fallen victim to whatever their landlord situation is. So it's strange. That's a new thing. Very, very, very new. Because the last time we moved, we were never treated like how we have been treated. So that's not good. And then another thing that we have found is that there is a type of landlord out there that does not want people like us as renters. They do not want people who are clean, tidy, and organized. They all say they do, but they do not. Because we went and looked at some places that were pretty run down, pretty dirty or older, and older is fine if it's clean. But there was some rundown situations, and if we asked questions like, oh, can the outlet be repaired, the one that's being held up with duct tape, or this one place, they stated that the backyard is perfect for children to play in, and this backyard was a dump. It had a car, trailer, 2 sheds, and a bunch of rubbish in it. And so we asked, we're like, oh, like whose car is that? And I guess it was the landlord's. And so then you ask, oh, is it going to stay? Because if, children are going to play in this backyard, the car's probably going to get wrecked. Not to mention all the garbage in it. And, you never hear back from them. And I talked with some friends and they're like, Jen, these kinds of landlords do not want you to ask questions. They don't want to fix the place up. They don't care if you fix the place up. They just want to cash their checks. So if you have a higher standard of cleanliness and house maintenance, you are annoying to them because they don't want to do anything. They just want you to live in the dirt and in the debris, and they want to cash their check. So we discovered that there is a whole load of landlords that do not want us to be their renters, even though we're pretty good renters. And then the flip side is that nicer, well-maintained places, so not even like nice with nice fixtures, but just well-maintained homes, they want us. But those ones are much higher in cost. So that brings me to the next point, the cost of rentals here. When I first looked a month ago, the average price for a 3-bedroom place was $3,000 to $3,500, and within a month it switched up to $3,500 to $4,000 a month for a 3-bedroom place. There were a couple that were cheaper than that. The cheapest I saw was $2,800. But let me tell you, the $2,800 place was 3 bedrooms. You got the top part of the home, but this home was probably built in the 70s, if not 60s, and nothing's been done. And you could see in the pictures the different layers of dirt. Like it was bad, but we're like, okay, well, you know what? We can clean the walls, we can repaint, we can add in new electrical, the faces of them that were like taped on. But yeah, again, places like that, they didn't want us. So it was hard. So the place that we got now though is really lovely. And thank God it's on the cheaper end of things. So we aren't at $3,500, but we are above $3,000 a month, which is so oppressive. And it's not like people around here can afford these prices. We're talking about people now are like, because I'm a part of a lot of different renter forums because I was looking, and people are just going to have to go without and get side hustles. So you're going to go out without eating out, without going on trips, different things like that, different forms of entertainment you won't be doing, because how can you afford to pay so high rent? And then you have the high gas prices, the high food prices, etc. How do you do it? Well, you can't. You have to say goodbye to some things, and then maybe you need to say hello to another job or a side hustle. It's what you got to do, because unfortunately you do need to put a roof over your head, and you are at the mercy of what people are charging. And unfortunately, housing has become big business. So it's just dollar signs to the people who aren't the ones renting. It's really sad, but it's true. It's all business. And I don't know what can be done about it, but something has to be done about it, because 50 to 80% of your paycheck cannot be going to housing alone. Because again, that's not even your hydro or your utilities. So yeah, it's a scary, frustrating time. But thankfully we found a nice place that is not the most expensive place we saw. And it's it's actually like pretty identical to what we have now. So 3 bedrooms plus a den, 4 bathrooms. Yeah, just really, really nice. And it's a property manager who manages it for the landlord, and she seems absolutely amazing, because some people, and I don't mean to be rude or disrespectful of this, but they felt sketchy. There was a little bit in you that was like, I don't know if I can trust you. And this property manager, I feel like I can trust. Now, maybe I'm being conned, I don't know, but my instincts were that of she's a healthy individual who's a professional, and will do a good job for her client, which is the landlord, but also not be immoral towards us. So that's big. Now here we go. We are moving. We are moving in, it's 14 days now. We got the place, so I applied to see it. I didn't hear back from her for a week, so I thought it was like, ugh, there's another place that you apply to see and it's not available. But then she got back to me within a week, and it was because the current tenants, it was very challenging to find a time that she could view the property or have viewings at the property. So I talked to her on a Monday night and hit it off. And then Tuesday we went and viewed, and Wednesday we got notice that we received it. Like, she checked out our references and our employment and everything like that, and our credit, and we got it. Now, when I'm going to tell you this very quickly, but I'll have to do a different video about it because it's too long, is talking about our credit through this process, because it's good for you to know what your credit score is when you know that potential landlords are going to check it out. We discovered that my husband's identity has been stolen, so it's demolished his credit score. Now that's for a different video, because this one's going to just be too long as is, because we're already at 17 minutes. So yikes. So anyways, we got the place Wednesday, and then we signed the papers Thursday, paid the down payment on a Friday, and now we have 2 weeks and we're moving. Just like I thought it could happen, because legally, once a tenant in BC, once a tenant receives their 2 months notice, they only have to give 10 days. So you get your 2 months, now you can give 10 days notice and you're out. So yeah, it's like all hands on deck here. Packing, cleaning, purging. Yesterday I just donated 8 big bags of stuff. And so we are working really hard. So I thought, you know what, I better do this video really quick, because I'm not going to have time to do it soon. Probably shouldn't even be doing it now, but I wanted to give you guys a quick update. So we are moving, and we're moving fast. But the silver lining is we're moving into a nice place, but also it's summer vacation now. So there's no dropping off and picking up. We can just focus on getting boxes from all the different locations that we can and packing our little hearts up, then moving, settling in at the second half of July, and then August we'll be in and settled and be able to actually enjoy some summer. Is that great? All right, anyways, I will do another video about my husband's identity at another time. Poor identity has been stolen, sucks so much. But I just wanted to give you guys the good news. Thank you for all of you who were praying for us, and yeah, we needed it. We've survived the first half, now we just have to survive the second half, and I'll keep you updated in the future about how it goes. Thanks everyone, bye.